Well, we are literally about a week and a half away from the Pride of Longbridge, or probably around 2 weeks when this video goes out. I am up against time in terms of getting a few niggly bits sorted, and there's one thing that is actually niggling me about this car because of how good the bodywork has come up, and that is these things. These alloys have never been great since I actually looked at them and cleaned them up in that brief episode. I wanted to try and clean them up to see how well they would come up, and I did a bit of scrubbing, and I thought ideally at the time I did that, I hadn't even started on the bodywork. I mean, look at how good the bodywork is. It is absolutely untrue. It is absolutely fantastic. In truth, these alloys are not brilliant now. They look better back then when the bodywork didn't look great, but now the bodywork is looking better. This is an area that's let down. The only other thing that I'm really annoyed about, and I am going to try and source another grill. I know you're going to say, oh God, you shouldn't have done it. Look at this. I don't like that. It's just worn where the lacquer's gone. It's really annoying to look at. I know on camera you're going to say that's absolutely nothing, but even the bonnet with its micro blistering, I can barely see the micro blisters. It's come up that well, and that stands out like a sore thumb. So I'm going to see if I can get a second-hand grill. I've found one in Starlight Silver, and it doesn't have any paint defects. And the badge that's on it is actually in really good condition. I'm annoyed that I put a brand new badge on this. I'm really annoyed, but in truth it will do. But ideally, if I can get that other grill, that'll be great. But anyway, we're going to come to the alloys here. Now this is the driver's side one. It's not too bad, this one. In fact, I would say if all the wheels were like this, I would actually not bother refurbing them. I am going to try and see if they can get a colour match. Although saying that, the colour match between the centre caps and the alloys aren't great anyway as standard. These centre caps are going to be popped out, and I'm going to get some brand new ones. I think Rimmer Brothers are actually the cheapest, remarkably. But if all the alloys were like this, with just a little bit of curbing like that, I wouldn't refurbish them. But unfortunately, they're not all in this sort of condition. And then we go to the back one here. Again, we've got that's a bit more. Then there's a bit of a chip there. There's a bit of something's come out the tyres, so they've obviously gone into a curb somehow. It's not too bad. Again, it's not the worst, but there's a bit of a scuff here that's going on. But again, not too bad. Hence why they're both on the driver's side. And before you say, I have brought the Focus out of the garage in order to transport the wheels down to the place in Digbeth. The place that I'm going to refurb the alloys is in Digbeth, home of the Peaky Blinders. It'll be a nice little trip, and I don't get charged by the ULEZ zone, or the clean air zone as it's known. And we've got this one, which is just the worst one. It's dreadful. It's dreadful. It's just, no, not good. And then we've got the one down here. Again, you know, that's not particularly great. That's not great. This is bad. This is not good. Yeah, it's going to need some filling, but there's nothing. They're not cracked. They're not buckled. There's nothing that tells me that this is really bad. And what the wheel refurbishers will do is, if you present them with tyres, it will be a bit more of a cost because they've got to take the tyres off, cut the valves off, put new valves on, and then they'll balance the wheels properly. Again, they probably do need rebalancing. It's just one of those things that needs to be done every so often. But yeah, these two are particularly bad. The spare one in the boot isn't too bad, but I'm not really going to use that because it's in good condition, but I don't need to get it refurbed. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take all four wheels off and put the car on jack stands again, and then bung them in the back of the workhorse of a Ford Focus Mark 1, of which it's enjoying its life in the garage. A bit dusty, but I'm really pleased that I managed to get that garage for the car. Right, that's all off. First impressions, just after a couple of drives. There seems to be this black tarry stuff that's going up all over the place. I think the tyres are leaving some sort of black tar over the actual... I mean, if you come here and look at all this, look, what's all this? They're like, it's like black tar spots, but it basically, they're in two lines on this side. And it's the same on the other side. Like the tyres are spitting rubber everywhere. I don't get that. It's weird. I mean, it rubs off, but it's just weird. I've got to put some copperies on these hubs because the back wheels were the front ones were fine, but the back wheels were really stuck on. So I think I'm going to have to just go in and just clean the face up a little bit more and then put some copperies when we put the wheels back on, just to stop that reaction between two dissimilar metals as you get with alloy wheels. I mean, this side is pretty much the same. It's just literally spat this tar. I say it's a tar, it's just spitting weird stuff everywhere. I have got to keep an eye on that. I think it looks worse in the sun today, but I'll just keep an eye on that because we know that the wings could rust out a bit. But the discs are clearing up quite nicely now. I'm quite pleased with the discs. So now we've left it on axle stands and we're going to deal with this lot. As I say, a couple of them, I think this one, no, there's some, oh yeah, the wheel weights are just completely rotten. I think some of them are fallen off, so it definitely needs to be redone. These tyres, I mean, 3 of them are Kumho tyres, and they're quite decent tyres. This one is a P606. I don't rate them. They're budget tyres. They're not very good, but they still fit. And this is the thing. All these tyres are about 7 years old, right? Going on to 8 years old this year. And they still feel rubbery. They don't feel plastic in any way whatsoever. They still have that rubber, that nice rubber feel to a tyre, which suggests that this car has been garaged, and it might explain the condition of the bodywork. But yeah, well, it's been undercover, away from the sun, because I believe UV damage is the worst thing for low mileage tyres above anything else. The sun does get to the rubber and it just makes it become a nasty plastic. But even this budget tyre feels quite nice. I mean, there's plenty of tread. I feel confident on these tyres for at least another 12 months. I know people say, oh, after 6 years you have to change your tyres over, it's best for safety. No, it isn't. It isn't. Honestly, I've driven on older tyres, worse tyres than this, and as long as you keep the tyres up to pressure, there's very little issues. Obviously, if you've got a bulge in the wall, that's a problem. But none of these tyres have got bulges in the wall. So honestly, I feel really good about getting the alloys refurbed and having these old tyres put back on, because they're old tyres, but they're good tyres. And I think I would be absolutely confident of driving on the motorway at speed, and these tyres would deliver the sort of braking performance that I might require in an emergency situation. Now, the next thing I've got to do, actually, is take these caps off. I think they're just held on with these tabs. Just push the tabs in and just pop it out. Done. Yeah, these have completely gone. The sticker's just worn out, the red stuff, and yeah, I'll put these on the side, but I'll take them all off and then we'll bung them in the Focus. Lovely. Ugh, there's always one. I've bent all the tabs in and it still won't go. Come on. Ah, there we go. Right, all loaded, back seats down. Lovely. I just had to take the partial self out as usual. Brilliant. Wow. Just close that. For all my Mark 1 enthusiasts that watch some of my Rover videos, that's how you lower the suspension on a Mark 1. Just put a load of weight in the boot, maybe some paving slabs, and that will sort it out. That's kind of how it's supposed to sit. It's just dropped by about probably half a millimetre, but it looks a little bit better than what it usually does. It just sits a little bit too high on the standard springs. Yeah, I could fit lower in springs, but yeah, that's kind of actually the way it's supposed to sit. Lovely. I enjoy that while it lasts. In Digbeth, famous Digbeth in Birmingham. partly industrious, partly it's partly a nightlife community in itself these days. It really has gone from strength to strength, but there's all sorts of industrial units down there, as we're going to find out. This, I believe, is a bus garage on the right hand side. Oh, it is. Yes, it is. It still is. Birmingham Central Garage, I believe they call it. Just wow. It's a very industrial chic sort of area here. I love the viaducts. Love a good viaduct. The place I'm going to is called City Wheel Refurbishment, and it's quite well known in Birmingham. It's a really good place to go if you need your wheels refurbing. I've never had an issue with them. Driving right into the heart of Birmingham, which I can still do in my gas-guzzling dirty car. And here we are. I mean, this is how close you can go in the city centre. I mean, you can drive through the city centre virtually still. It's getting harder these days. And just plonk it right here in front. That is me, booked in, 16-inch alloys with a silver finish, pretty much as close to the OEM as possible. So I think it would take about a week to refurbish, but for you it will be almost instantaneously. So we'll take you back there now. Right, I'm back home, and just before we cut to when I actually go and pick the wheels up in approximately a week's time, I just want to show you the actual price of what they've quoted me, and this is based on what they saw. As I say, the alloys aren't cracked. They can actually repair cracked and certain levels of buckled alloys from what they've said. But they looked at mine, they said there's no issues with that. They will repair the edges where the scuffs are and the curbing. It's typical. Every single alloy that comes in there has exactly the same problem. And on that basis, they quoted me £140 with the VAT. That is astonishingly good value. So if you live in the Midlands around Birmingham, I would recommend City Wheel Refurbishment in Digbeth. There are many others of similar names, but the one based in Digbeth is the one you want. They have an unbelievable range of colours. It is ridiculous, the choices that you have. And I've known them to be a very friendly bunch of people, and believe you me, I will give them a high review after I've seen the finished product. I had the Focus Mark 1 ST170 alloys refurbed in what was very close to diamond white, because that was the theme. I have obviously subsequently sold them wheels, and I got all my money back for them because that's how nice they turned out. These alloys are going to be done, they can be done in a custom colour, so they can match the existing paintwork, but that was a little bit more expensive, and I thought that because it's a silver colour, it's not exactly going to be the worst thing if it was just slightly off. The only thing that wouldn't really match entirely are the centre caps, but the truth is those centre caps that I've got inside now, that I am about to throw in the bin of shame, they basically don't match to the original paint anyway. There is a slight mismatch, so I have chosen a silver. My honest opinion, when I actually saw it, it's difficult because inside they've got all those LED lights in a dark room where you choose the colour, and I just grabbed one of the wheels just to do a comparison, and while the assistants came with me, and she was like, this one is the best, this one is the closest match, and I think it was just a tiny bit more sparkly. That's not a bad thing. That's really not a bad thing. So, you know, originality with a little bit of zest, as I put it. So I can't wait to see the finished product. But in the meantime, we've got one job to do. Shame, 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 shame. And 2 days after dropping those alloy wheels off, I've had news on the phone. I thought, oh Jesus, they haven't done it already. They quoted me a week to have it done. No, Unfortunately, one of the wheels is badly buckled. They said they could repair it for an extra £25, and I've just phoned them back to give them the go ahead. But that's very strange, considering that when I drove the car to the MOT test centre on that good drive, I did not notice any shaking or vibration. I think I would have been able to tell. But then again, I suspect that I did notice this. One of those alloys had a lot of wheel weights on it. So it's possibly that one, and the wheel weights just counteracted the fact that the wheel's buckled. And you can probably obviously sort it out with wheel weights, but the idea is that you don't have a wheel covered in weights, because clearly it's out of true. I know I've seen wheels buckled so badly that the tyre won't sit on the wheel properly. Well, as far as I'm concerned, none of the tyres were losing air, and there wasn't any obvious sign, but, you know, these things happen. So I'll cut to another few days where hopefully I pick them up. Hello. Just a little bit more sparkly, but absolutely gorgeous. Welcome to Digbeth. And the good music. Right, I'm fully loaded, and that is City Wheel Refurbishment in Birmingham. As you can see, that is literally town, literally there. So we're literally in the heart of Birmingham. Yes, and Digbeth is a wonderfully beautiful place to come to. Sometimes a bit industrial, a bit chic, but a bit up and coming. And yes, it's always good to take a few photos of your Focus in a specific place. I haven't been to Digbeth in quite a while, so despite the fact that it's absolutely mucky, I thought I'd take some shots. Hey, that's just random stuff, eh? Let's go home. Roads are a bit funny around here. Go a bit cautiously because I've been hitting some really bad roads recently. I thought I'd knocked another ball joint out the other day. Going through tunnels. And squeeze into the driveway, and we are here. Lovely jubbly. I think we can honestly say that that is a successful job. I always knew that the moment that I walked in this morning, I thought, I'm going to notice if the silver is just a little bit too much of an off shade. The moment I saw them, when they brought them out, I thought, yeah, that's absolutely perfect. It's possibly just a little bit more sparkly than in the factory, but you know what? That is astonishing. The work they've done into it. You wouldn't even think that these were once really battered alloys that cleaned up rather well, but now they look absolutely superb. And if you can see on the back side, I'll just bring it to the camera. I'll just lower you down a little bit. There you go, amateur camera skills. There is some pitting in the corners. All the alloys are like this, but it just goes to show that even blasting it does reveal that there has been some alloy corrosion around this area, because this is where brake dust just sits and you can't really do too much about it, and it sits there and it eats away at the paint, and then you get this sort of galvanic corrosion. But overall, I'm really impressed. There's actually a bit of like corrosion in here where it's just not quite smooth, but you know what, that is just astonishing. This one is the worst. Look at all these weights, and there's some on the inside. Now, I've got a feeling that this was the one that they actually tried to straighten out. There's still a little bit of an indentation here, which I don't know how they missed that actually, but the truth is, I think this is the one that was buckled. Now, I've got a feeling this one, no, I don't think it was the one with the scratches, the one that was on this side, the actual passenger rear with the big gouges all over here. That's not that one, but I've got a feeling, yeah, this is definitely the one that was buckled by the look of it. But they've straightened it out, they've put some weights on it, and they're quite happy with it as it is. I mean, they asked me over the phone, do you want it repaired? So they clearly thought that it wasn't that bad, because most places would just say, look, it's a really bad buckle, it's not safe because the tyre's not going to sit on the rim very well, and there's a risk of a blowout naturally. So it can't have been that bad for them to have said that, because they actually gave it to me as an option that I could just literally, they could refurb the wheel as it was or have it straightened out. So clearly it wasn't actually a bad buckle, like I said earlier. It was just light, I suspect, but it did need straightening out. But yeah, again, this one, you know, the face is fantastic, and it's just everything all in here, it's all nice and clean. I'm going to use my I have actually given my plastic alloy wheel socket, my 19mm one, the yellow one, I've given the plastic yellow surround a bit of a clean, because I don't want any dirt from there transferring into there. You've got to be very careful, because I want to make sure that these are protected, and I'm going to use an alloy wheel protector with these once I've fitted them. And that makes it very easy for me to decide which goes on the front and which goes on the back. So the back ones are going to be the one that I think was buckled with all those weights on it that they've straightened out to the point where it's not buckled now, where it's much more safer. That's going to go on the back. The one with the cheap tyre, the 3A tyre, that's going to go, the P606, that's going to go on the back. The other two on the front. So let's whack them on. So what we're going to do, just a blob, and then we're just going to go all over the face, okay, just all the way around. I want to make sure that this is really thorough. I've done it with all my cars. The Focus, I have no issues getting the wheels off. Literally, the wheels will want to fall off as soon as you start taking the nuts off, and that's exactly what you want an alloy wheel to be. You don't want it sticking on, because if it's stuck on, there's been a reaction and you're going to get corrosion. It's as simple as that. Luckily, with the Rover wheels, they've come up really, really nicely. But I think it's one thing that I would really recommend. Next time you take your wheels off, please do this. Just a smear all the way around, okay? Not too much, because if you put too much on, that could actually cause its own problems. But just make sure there's a smear. Obviously, I'm going to put some on the threads, just a little bit. Not too much, because that's going to go on the wheel accidentally. Just put this on. So, lovely, okay? Just a light smearing only, okay? Make sure it's nice and even, there's no clumps or anything. If it's a bit thick in places, take it off and just wipe your hands. Just literally wipe it off with your hand and then put it onto a tissue, okay? So you haven't put too much on, it's just the lightest smearing only, so it's all covered, particularly around the stud areas. Okay, first one, the P606 tyre, which I said is going to go on the back. Some of my old wheel nuts that I've cleaned up as best as I can, and of course you have to fit the locking nut. And I have also, as I said, I've given this a clean just around the rim here where it gets a lot of dirt, and actually I've got a lot of dirt cleaned up and I've cleaned inside. I think it's worth doing this with these because they do get really dirty and you're transferring all that gunk onto your nuts. You know, stop laughing. Yeah, I'm gonna, God, it looks absolutely brilliant already, and this is just the faff of getting it on. I never quite seem to do this. There we go. Never quite seem to do it very easily. I think a lot of people struggle with putting wheels on. I'm not the strongest of fellas. Just make sure it's sitting flush with one hand, and then wind the first nut in as much as possible. Get your socket. It should be nice and free. If it's binding, it means the wheel's sort of sitting at an angle. It's not sitting on the studs correctly. It should go in nice and freely. You don't want it catching on anything. I don't want to wreck these. They look so nice. I think there's just a little bit more sparkle than the originals, and this is exactly what I wanted. The original OEM spec, as close to spec as possible, but with a little zest, a little bit something, ooh, it catches the eye. And I think subtle changes, subtle modifications, absolutely up my street. Everybody watch my Focus Mark 1 videos. I love subtle modifications. They seem to have been all done up. Just make sure it's flush against the face, and it is. It's all equal right now. We can just take that axle stand away. Right. Oh God, come on. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the axle stands that I bought from Lidl's, again in the middle aisle. This is what the car's been sitting on at the rear. I've got the Halfords ones at the front, and I've got these, which are these flexible ones. I've never liked these. I personally think I think they're quite dangerous in some respects. I've always thought that, because if you've got a flexible part that's not solid, you've got a weakness there that can be exploited. But if I'm not getting under the car and I'm just leaving the car off because I'm taking the wheels off, this exact job really, these are perfect. Next job, torque settings. Now, torque settings for Rover 45s are a little bit more, sorry, my camera's a bit, hello. Torque settings for the 45. Now, I think wheel nut wise, 110 Newton meters, something like that, a bit more. On the Focus, I've been used to 85. 85 is what you put, what you do alloy wheel nuts up on a Focus. But I'm a bit wary about locking nuts because, as I've always heard from a lot of people, they shear, and I wouldn't want to do that and buy that amount. I would suggest I go on the torque settings for the other 3 bolts, so 110 Newton meters. The locking nut, I'm only going to do that to about 85 because I know that's probably the point where it's tight enough to be safe enough, but not overly tight to the point where your key shears. Just a top tip. Yes, I know what people are going to say, don't use your torque wrench as a ratchet, but come on, it's only light use. So, torque this one up first, the locking nut. Lovely. Horizontal, diagonal pattern. Done. That is one wheel on. Off to the next. I'll cut back when I've put all 4 on. Those are my top tips for when you're putting wheels on. Simple. Little simple stuff. Nothing major. So now we've got the missing piece. Now, as I said earlier, these are not the correct centre caps, okay? But the correct ones with the correct Rover badge on them, the later Rover badge, they don't exist anywhere, non-obtainable. And the ones on eBay are as trashed as my old ones. Now, I should not have actually got rid of my old ones because of my next idea. But I'm just going to show you one of these. And I'm just going to show you the colour match. It's not too bad because the old ones were slightly off as well. So this is a really close colour match. But as you can see, the sparkiness. I think this tends to fade over time because brake dust really does dull a paint surface, and it does eat away at the paint. If you don't clean your wheels, they will get in the corners especially. Those are the worst areas when I cleaned them up previously. I just wanted to see how well they actually cleaned up, but I kind of knew after I'd finished they look better. They look more presentable, but they're going to need a refurb. I didn't expect to refurb them at this early stage, but since the Pride of Longbridge is steadily fast approaching now, and I was really not happy with the state of these wheels compared with the fact that the rest of the car looks absolutely astonishing. It has been raining and it still looks fantastic on camera. As I say, I think I'm going to probably name this car 50 Shades of Silver, and there is a reason in another episode that I'll point this out. But yeah, I'm going to just clip these in. What I'm going to try and do is get them all sort of level like that. But anyway, it won't really matter because what I've done is I've found someone who makes stickers, and he makes metal stickers, and these metal stickers are specific for centre caps, areas of high wear where a normal sticker would literally just deteriorate within a few seconds. These stickers are they're not the cheapest things, but he's basically took the measurement of my centre cap, so I gave him the measurement of about 54 millimeters in diameter, and he has the exact copy of the originals, so he's actually going to create me a sticker with the Rover badge on it. And I think it's quite ironic that it's actually a sticker that I'm going to basically place over the top of these. So ironically, I could have just kept the old ones and put the sticker over them instead of spending, well, to be fair, these weren't expensive. These were about £18 with delivery. So I'm not gonna say that was a complete waste of money, but it was not quite necessary. I just didn't realise at the time these were the incorrect ones. They look correct from a distance because the difference between the badges are not that great, but there's enough for someone to go at the Pride of Longbridge, oh, you've got the wrong badges. I know, I hate that sort of thing. I really do. I mean, it's annoying for people, and I get annoyed by little things that are wrong. I like things to be correct. So I've actually gone and ordered these stickers. Now these stickers have come from Spain. I cannot find anyone else that actually makes these stickers, so they'll be arriving in, well, it could be tight, but it may arrive before the Pride of Longbridge. If you see me at the Pride of Longbridge with these exposed, you know it hasn't come yet, but if they have, I'll lock them on. So I'm going to try and get these even, but it doesn't really matter if they're not even, because you know, you take your wheels off and you put them in the wrong orientation. But ironically, there is a piece here, they will only go in that way, so realistically you can only actually pop them in by slotting that piece in. So I haven't really got a choice. I should have really decided before. Bang, straight in. You see the difference? Just a little bit. Ironically, I should have got the orientation right, but these wheels are definitely going to have to come back off because I've got jobs at the front where I've got to change the CV boots in the future, and I've got to sort the train arm bush. Now what I'm going to do, my plan is to change that top arm, to push that bush out with a tool that I'm going to use. The tool is applicable to a lot of Honda CRVs, Honda Civics. It's the same train arm bush. And the compensator arm, which adjusts the camber, I'm going to change that as well because I'm going to have to release it. There might be an issue with, if I can just show you, yeah, okay, this bolt there, that tends to seize in where it goes through into the body, so I may have to do some cutting involved, so that may be a problem. But there's plenty of videos on Honda Civics of this age which use the same Honda suspension, of people changing the train arm bush. It can be a bit of a faff actually to actually push it in and out. Even with the tool, it tends to go in cockeyed, but yeah, that's another job. But these wheels are going to have to come off, so I don't care that they're all the wrong orientation and they're not all level. So you know, it's just a job for another day really. I didn't actually spot the actual notch, so I will bear that in mind next time. I just need to rotate it again because this actually faces downwards. I might actually do that now, but I've got the jack, but we'll see how they go. Okay, and then we've got the notch here. Oh, ironically, it's actually in the same place. Get it right, Andrew, get it right. So, yeah. Ironically, actually, this wheel is in the same place, so just get the notch, as I say, get that lined up there. Okay, that notch there. And then just ease him. This is where you've got to be very careful not to break the clips. So just go in and bang. I mean, for 165 it was in total, including the VAT. This business, City Wheel Refurbishment in Digbeth, they run on the basis, like a lot of wheel refurbishers, low profit margins, high volume in order to make their dough. I honestly, every time I've been to them, it's this level of wow. And wheels really do set the car off. You can tell if a wheel has been refurbed or not. Now my Focus alloys, there's only one where I'm not really happy with, but to be fair, I'd want them all done at the same time. That may be done at a later date, but the truth is those wheels are such a gem. I don't really want to take the original finish off. If you can get away with it, I would keep and protect the original finish as much as possible, really. It just £165, and it would have been £140 without that buckle. It cost £25 to straighten that buckled wheel, which I still think is amazing, because some places charge about £50. I don't know what other people have had in terms of experiences with wheel refurbishment. My Brummie accent is coming out every time I say wheel. You know, you can't argue with that, can you? So yeah, it's a heads up. If you're in the Midlands, I would recommend them 100%. Unless you've got someone really close to you. In that case, you're going to save a bit on fuel by going to them. But these guys are absolutely fantastic. So yeah, and I actually told them that at the desk, that I am actually a YouTuber. It's not like I have a massive following, but I said I would 100% do a shout out, because this is the third job in a row that I've gone to them, and I've been absolutely amazed at the final results. So yeah, I mean, it's not something I would usually do with a daily driver, what is to become a near daily driver, I suspect. It's something I would do with a car which is kept nicely, and the Focus, ironically, hasn't had a refurb, but it's going to be in that sort of situ very soon. But just because of the way the rest of the cars turned out, we have got some different shades of silver going on, but I quite like that. The Rover P6 I had, Mexico brown, beautiful colour for a 19th century car, typical. It has not been repainted. Red, Monza red is a popular one. Different shades of blue, tangy oranges, you know, the sort of bright vibrant 1970s colours. A lot of people have resprayed their P6s in that sort of colour. Don't like it. I'm not being funny. Almond and Mexico brown are the best colours for 70s P6, but my particular P6 had a common issue where, you know, you have the ability to change all the body panels. They're all bolt on, including the roof, which is the beauty of a P6. They're all bolt on panels, and I think my P6 had pretty much most of its panels swapped off other cars at some point, hence why we've got 50 shades of brown going on. And I used to say that at the shows, so 50 shades of silver will be what Beatrix might be referred to as going forwards, as a running joke, because I haven't got the money to respray this car, and quite frankly it doesn't justify it at the moment. It never will do for a few years at least, but for now it's what it's probably going to be known as. There is one final thing we have to do while the wheels are this clean, and that is we have to protect it. Now this is Diamond Bright alloy wheel shield. Now the idea is it repels brake dust and grime for longer. Now these are very expensive products. You can get them from Auto Glim and a few others. They all the major ones do something very similar, but basically it is like a repelling wax almost that you spray on. It's very easy to spray on, buff in, rub into all the corners, and the idea is that it keeps brake dust away for far longer than just washing and cleaning. Now your cleaners will protect the wheels for so long, and you've got wheel waxes that you can use as well, but this is the stuff you should be using, because I've noticed ever since I've used this, I mean, these Focus wheels, okay, they look actually pretty good. I actually gave them a jet wash the other day, but I'm probably going to go over and do them properly now, because they look a bit dirty compared to these. But I've used this on these, I think the last time I checked, I think it was about 6 months ago. I mean, the idea is that all this stuff here, see what I mean, it just wipes off. Now all this brake, see how clean that is. I've just wiped it. The idea is that when you wash this properly, it will just wipe off. It just, the brake dust cannot embed into the paintwork, and it protects the alloy paint. Really important on these. Obviously, because I've had this done now, I want to protect them as best. I may even go and put some of this on the inside if I can get under the car, and just spray it on the inside of the rim, just to keep that looking better for longer. We know that the insides go a bit you know, a bit dusty, as they usually do. It's not really the place where people look, but yeah, this is why the product is so good. I put this on 6 months ago, and I've washed the wheels probably twice in that time, and it's probably going to be washed today, but it's just going to come off. There really is no embedment. So yeah, let's whack this on now. So just some, it's a very fine spray, just spray over. Literally, that's all you need. It's a tiny amount. This bottle probably costs about £15, which is a lot of money, you might think, but honestly, I've only used probably that much in a couple of years. Now, oh yes, that's slippery smooth. I know this is not the cleanest microfiber cloth, but just buff in really nicely, and it will just get it into all the corners. If you need to apply a bit more, please do so, but it literally goes in straight away. No issues, no fuss. Just put a bit more in the corners. There we go. Try not to put too much on the tyres, because that's a waste. Just don't waste this product. Use it as liberally as possible. No, sparingly, not liberally, Andrew. There's an opposite difference there. I'm just going to leave you here, because it's going to take a few minutes per wheel. You've seen how quick it is. It's nice to apply. It's a really good stuff. Now, in terms of reapplying this, 6 months on the Focus, and I'm going to clean them today, and I'm going to reapply this. But if you clean your wheels a bit more frequently, I'd say reapply this every 3 or 4 months, depending on how much you wash your car. If you wash your wheels like once a month, once every few months, I would say anything between 3 and 6 months. There isn't really instructions from Diamond Bright, the company that makes Diamond Bright, and all the others, but usually 6 months is a good figure. Now, in terms of what I've done with the car, this is the only job that I've outsourced that I haven't done myself. There's a very good reason for that. I mean, I could have literally just took the wheels off and sanded them back nice and smooth with some sandpaper, and then use the pack of playing cards around the tyre so I don't paint the tyre, and then sprayed it up. But am I going to get really good results? Well, they might not be better than what they were before, and especially, I'm not being funny, a couple of the alloys needed a lot of filler, so that would have been even more of a cost. So it would have just taken ages, absolute ages, and the finish would have been better than what they looked before. But in 6 to 12 months down the line, how good is your work going to embed? Is it going to start flaking? Most probably. Most probably. Is it going to start bubbling? Well, it might bubble immediately. If they're not clean, they'll start bubbling. There'll be reactions in the paint. It's just an absolute faff. I don't know why people bother. The company that I've gone to today, they refurbish alloys for 2 major car manufacturers. I was having this conversation with them. I was just discussing my YouTube channel, and they were just telling me a few things about what they do. I can't name the car manufacturers for legal reasons, and they told me not to, so I'm not going to. But they do refurbish alloys for 2 major car manufacturers. I suspect that one is located in Solihull. So if they can refurb alloys for a major manufacturer, how long do you think it's going to last on my car? The way they do the process is exactly the same. Shot blasting, blast it back to bare metal, filling, sanding, any sort of repairs like buckles, straighten them out, powder coat. And these wheels are now powder coated. And I asked the question, how long can I expect this finish to last for before major? I mean, obviously it depends on a number of factors about how regularly you clean the wheels, how much you protect them. But I asked the question just generically, and they said they expect that finish, if it's cleaned even once a year and protected once a year with something like the alloy wheel shield, they will last as well as the originals lasted for. Well, these lasted 18 years before they looked completely shot, didn't they? So that's how much you would expect them to last. It's as simple as that. So for 165, it's an absolute financial no-brainer. Don't even bother doing it at home. Find a place that does them. They can vary, but these businesses, I think they're all roughly the same. Low profit margins, high volume, and they need good customer feedback, and they need returning customers more or less. They want people to go away, think that's an amazing job, I'll come back again, because, you know, people change cars. Car enthusiasts, especially, I was waiting there for about half an hour. They were just fitting the tyres this morning. That's why there was a little bit of a delay. But while I was there was so many, I can tell there was so many car enthusiasts that pulled up. There was a couple of Mazda MX-5s, 90s that had pulled up with a boot full of wheels. Well, there was 2 in the passenger seat because there was no room at the back. I don't know how he managed that, but there was 3 wheels inside the cockpit with him. And there was a couple of other really nice cars pulled up. One was a Focus Mark 1, and they saw my Focus Mark 1, and we just got chatting for another 5-10 minutes. So yeah, you see a lot of car enthusiasts around these places, and it's not surprising, but it's something to bear in mind. Anyway, you take care, guys. Onwards to the Pride of Longbridge. I will give more details out in another episode, but for now, take care.